I interviewed a mobile money business vendor, and this was what she had to say.
Say, "Owo bibia obi aba obenye bia." You say we turn your money.
Namadoso.
Nti ma say me take you over no. Man spend kra, me card more than 8,000. That's what I'm saying.
A month and a week. Now, if you watch the full interview, if you haven't, go watch it. It's up on YouTube. This business owner did share with me that she started this business not on her own. She actually took over the business from her late sibling. But then she's been in the business for a very long time, so she knows the game. Now, she shares with me that the business is pretty good, but it comes with a lot of challenges and a lot of difficulties, which is pretty expected of any business whatsoever. But she gave a disclaimer that this one comes with a little bit of extra trouble than the usual business does. Now, what trouble would you be wondering? Well, this is a money involved business. This is a business that literally revolves around money. You buy money, you give money. Well, you're not necessarily buying money. In the Ghanaian language, we say otoska, which means you buy money. In essence, what it simply means is that when someone comes to you to make a deposit, they give you cash and then you send them money electronically. And when someone comes to make a withdrawal, you take the cash that you've been given earlier on to give to this person and take the electronic money. So meaning it is literally selling money. Basically, that's what it is. And that comes with a lot of trouble because on this side of the world, Ghana to be precise, there's a lot of fraudulent acts being acted around any monetary business. Not just necessarily the mobile money business, even banks experience fraudulent. Even the telecommunication network themselves do experience fraudulent acts being, done against them or whatever. But yeah, these things are very common on this side of the world, and that is one of the challenges that she faces as a business owner. But then let me break it down for you. This business comes in two sessions. We have the mobile money section, which essentially revolves around money, like what I explained earlier on. And we have the credit transfer section. Now, that section is where people come to you to buy airtimes, internet bundles, and everything that a person will need on their electronic device to be able to communicate with another person through the internet or whatsoever. That is another section on its own because it is essentially transferring credit from your phone to the buyer's phone and receiving cash. So with that, there's nothing like giving another person cash. All you do is receive money and you send credit. That's it. The only difficulty with that is when you're giving changes or when you actually dial in the numbers, because someone could actually pay you and say they want a 30 cedis airtime and then you go send a 300 cedis airtime. She's actually given an example of something like that in the interview. Go watch a full interview if you haven't. I'll recommend. I'll actually link it down in the description if you haven't, so you can go check it out. Now to the second part of the business. This is a business that would essentially need you to have enough cash and enough credit depending on the location that you are situated at. So if you are at a busy location like she is, you will need a lot of cash. You will need to have a lot of money on your phone for mobile money itself, and you will need to have a lot of money in your credit transfer to be able to have your credit transfer to all your clients. If you are at a low busy space, well, that is another challenge, but you would not necessarily need as much money or as much credit that she would need with regards to her location. So here location does play the trick here. So if you're at a busy space, you need to invest a chunk of money in the business. But if you are at a less busy space or more of like a home base, you wouldn't necessarily need a chunk of money, but your profit is not going to be as much as hers, obviously. The more you invest in, the higher you gain. She said this countless times in the main interview. So you need to have a large chunk of money in your mobile money to be able to have this business running and be able to see the profit actually throwing in. This takes me to the third part of the challenges of the business, and that is the fact that we do not just have one telecommunication network in this part of the world or in this country, Ghana to be precise. We have currently, I think, three or four. Yeah, we have two that is joint. So we have three telecommunication network here in Ghana. We have MTN, we have Telecel, and we have Airtel Tigo. The problem here is that you would need to have all of them. available. And that means that you need to have a lot of phones with you. What does that mean? It means that the telecommunication networks now do not have a joint SIM. You can't have one SIM performing for mobile money transactions and still performing for credit transfer. So you will need to have two phones for two things for the same telecommunication network. So meaning if it's MTN, you need to have two phones for it. One for mobile money and one for credit transfers. If you are on Telecel, you will need to have two phones for Telecel mobile money and Telecel credit transfers. Same for Airtel Tigo. That means that you need to have six phones in order to be able to run this business if you want to have all the telecommunication networks, mobile money and credit transfers made available for the customers coming. But we have small phones that do allow dual SIMs, so maybe you can get those dual ones and use one for credit transfer and use one for mobile money. Problem here is you always need to be articulate. You cannot use a mobile money SIM for credit transfers. Neither can you use the credit transfer SIMs for mobile money transactions. Why? Because you are simply trying to avoid this fraudulent act being tracked on your phone. Your SIMs automatically have an upper hand because they are registered as an agent SIMs. But these fraudsters have ways of being able to reach these numbers. Even when the telecommunication network itself has made it impossible, they are able to do that. So from this business owner's perspective, she would advise that if you are getting these dual SIMs, you need to be all the time articulate with how you were using it. If not, she would highly recommend that you get separate phones for separate things and just maybe label them so you can identify them quickly and know that this phone is for this particular telecommunication and it's specifically for mobile money. This particular phone is for credit transfers and it's specifically for credit transfers. Do not mix them. And all of this is just to be able to save yourself from these fraudsters. Another challenge of the business is shortage of money. Now, this is something that does happen to a lot of businesses, and this business is not an exception, unfortunately. Shortage does happen when you are dealing with money. Sometimes the going and coming of money, especially in this part of the world where people tend to use black magic on their money before they go out there and spend it. In essence, they spend it and it comes back to them. There's a lot of things that goes in there. That is another thing, a contributing factor to these shortages that happen to a lot of businesses, and hers not being an exception. So just having the back of your head, there might be some shortages here and there with regards to the business. But a business cannot have all these challenges and not have a good time, right? And that is the reason why she does tell me that this is definitely a profitable business. But there's a lot of risk involved. Ooh, I forgot to add one more risk. Just one more. Well, just like every other business, this risk actually, I think, cuts across all businesses, and that is criminals and thieves. So we have criminals and thieves everywhere. It's all around the world. Every part of the world have criminals. They have thieves. They have people that would rob you and all of that. And that is another risk that you need to consider. She says that because of where she's located, she closed in the evening. She's a woman in a country where there are thieves and they know the kind of business that she does because they are outside, they see her, and she is located at a spot where these criminals and thieves bypass on a daily. So they do see them, they do see everybody, they do see what business everybody's into, they do see those into money, dealing with money, they do see those who deal with other goods, they see everybody. And them knowing that she does deal with the money, she's been targeted a lot of times. So that is one thing that you also need to consider, that if you are going to go out there and look for a location, you should probably look for a location that is pretty safer. Not saying that it is safer to the extent that you would stay in your house and say you're doing business in your house. I mean, if you do not have the means of going out there and having a specific location, that's going to be a bit difficult. But yeah, you just don't have the means, right? There's nothing you can do about it. But if you do have the means and you have the means to actually go out there and be in the market space where you're going to have more clients, which will convert to a lot of sales and convert to a lot of profit, do go out there. But as you're going out there, do put in safety measures that would save you from any of these attacks, just in case it does happen. Everybody is praying that it doesn't, but hey, you just got to be prepared for things like this. And again, this is just not for that particular business or this particular business. This actually cuts across. It cuts across a lot of businesses, and a lot of people do experience this, and a lot of people see it on a daily, unfortunately. So you just got to be prepared as a human being. Gotta be ready. So now we're going back to what I was saying before, and that is the fact that this is quite a profitable business. I asked this business owner what her daily sales looks like. She tells me that she doesn't necessarily calculate daily, she calculates weekly. And on an average week where sales ain't really that good, she makes 6,000 cedis. 6,000 cedis on a specific juncture of the business. Like I mentioned from the get-go of this video, this business comes in two sections: the mobile money specifically, and then the credit transfer specifically. Now, under the credit transfer umbrella, she makes 6,000 cedis in sales. And under the mobile money umbrella, she makes more than that. She wasn't comfortable mentioning the figure, but yeah, she makes more than that. But here is the catch: she doesn't make a lot of profit from the mobile money business. No, 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 no. Most of her profit comes from the credit transfer. So meaning low sales but high profit, and high sales but low profit. Now with this being said, someone would say, well, now why doesn't she just consider or just put attention on the part that she makes profit and just focus on it? Well, she's been in the business for a long time. She's known for being in the mobile money and credit transfer sectors. Now, if she should start to drop one, her clients will start to drop. You know why? Even though that she would have credit transfer services to offer, those dealing or those wanting mobile money will start to direct their attention. Now, one thing about running a business is this: if I should come to you as a food vendor or whatever business it is, right? You have other services that you offer. And I come say, I want service A. And you tell me that service A isn't available, but you have service B and C. Now you've disappointed me. I have to go look for service A and get it because I needed it. That's why I came to you, right? Good. Now you've given me service B today. Tomorrow, before I come to you, I will think twice. She said she doesn't offer service A anymore, or she don't have service A anymore. She only has service B and C. I don't need a C. I only need service A and B. Now, you are not the only one offering the service too. Bear in mind, this is mobile money. There is always a mobile money vendor at almost every junction. Almost every junction. So if yours, being so close to me, maybe, is not offering the service A that I need, but the one on the next junction is offering both services, the possibility that I would walk there, walk to the other junction, or walk to the other person and get both these services is high. That is the human psychology. Because I think that what is the point of going to spend half or maybe more than half of the money I need here when I could spend all the money in one particular place, get both things that I need, and just go about my day, right? So now you just lost a client. Maybe I am too loyal that I can't leave. I would come by your service B, get your service B, go get service A. But how long will I continue? Yeah. So that means it's just a matter of time. I would also drop off no matter how loyal I am. That means you started not just losing floating clients, you started losing even the loyal clients too. Now that is something that could kill a business. That could actually take her out of the business. So if she's just focusing on the part that brings her profit and just say, oh, this thing just brings me profit. This thing, I don't have to sell much and I'll make a lot of profit. So I'm focusing on it. I'm dropping this part. She's going to drop a lot of clients too. You feel me? So that's the reason why that sometimes, when, even if this particular service that you have in addition to other services, it's not the star, it's not the most selling, it's not the most profitable, you still would just have it as a supporting product or as a supporting service, just so that your clients who have known you to be offering that particular service will come to you, even if it's not going to be on a regular, even if it's not going to be a profitable one, even if it's not going to be the most profitable, because everything is going to be profitable at the end of the day, right? But just not the most profitable one, right? You still would just have it just in case, just in case, for those clients that will come needing both services. And that is what exactly she's doing. And now this takes me to the part where we do the calculation. She makes 6,000 cedis in a week, times 4 of that is 2,400, I believe. Yeah, 2,400 cedis is what she makes in sales at the end of every month. That if every day of the whole month was so average that she only makes 6,000 cedis exact, by the end of the week. Now, this is another business that we can't necessarily just calculate and then deduct cost of production, utilities, and all of that and see the profit that she makes on a daily, after we break it down, all of that. We can't do that. Why? Because she does not calculate it that way. This is how she goes. If after 3 months of buying, let's say 7,000 credit, put it in her phone, and she's sold, let's say 6,300 cedis, let's say. Now she's left with 700 cedis, right? She doesn't wait till that 700 cedis is done before she refills. She goes and refills, even when there is still money in there. So being it's mobile money or credit transfer, she makes sure that her phone never lacks anything. That means that whoever that is a client going to her is always going to have her service. She's never going to be out of business or out of service, or have something that is just not available. Every single time you go to her, there's something going to be available, and that is how she calculates it. Well, I had a conversation with her afterwards and made her know that you don't necessarily run a business that way, because you run a business to know the profit. You run a business to see how profitable it is, to see how much it's growing and all of that, so you can know how to expand or how to tweak some certain things or make some adjustments and all of that. Now, she's going to implement that later in the future, but for now, this is how she runs the business. So we can't, unfortunately, calculate the business to see how much she makes and what the profit margin is going to be. So for her, she just makes sales. So they just hold on to the sales being 2,400 on an average month. Let's stick to that. Now, some of the mistakes that she's made in this particular business as a business owner is not confirming some certain things before sending out money. She's had clients or customers who have come to her saying they want to have some transactions done, and after she's done the transaction, they say that wasn't the figure or something like that, and by the time she reports it to the telecommunication network, the money has already been cashed out, and there's nothing the telecommunication network can do anything about it. That means it becomes her loss to carry. So for her, if there's anyone tapping into the business, make sure that you always and always confirm from digit, number, name, and figure that you're sending out before you press send. Before you even type in your PIN, to be honest. Make sure you confirm everything. Make sure everything is articulate. Make sure the person confirms. And if it is a deposit, make sure that you count the money to make sure it is exactly how much the person said he or she is sending. Because a lot of people will come mention figures after you sent it, and then they will give you whatever it is they will hold it and say that this is what I said I was sending. That means that you are going to be carrying the mistake, because no matter how long you drag it, they're not going to pay you. They are not going to pay that excess that has been topped up. So make sure that you're confirming. As you're confirming the numbers for transferring and all of that, make sure you're confirming the money, the cash being brought to you. If you're sending money, they're going to have a little top up to be able to send the exact figure that you want to send. But if you are not adding a top up, they will need to make some deductions. So make sure that it is a figure that has top up or will need some deduction before you send out any figure. If not, it's going to be your loss, and you wouldn't want that as a business owner. Now to my overall thoughts. Mobile money business and credit transfer altogether is a lucrative business, and it's a business that I would highly recommend to the aspiring entrepreneur who is looking for a business to tap into, either as a side hustle or as a main business. This is a very good stepping stone for you to get into the business field and see how money works, so you can have experience, knowledge, insights, and all of that. And this business will actually teach you a lot of things that a lot of business will not. So I would highly recommend. But again, consider your risk tolerance, consider your management tolerance, consider everything else before you even try dabbling into this business, because this is a business that could either make or break you. And if it's gonna break you, it's gonna break you really hard. Yeah, so you gotta be ready. For real, for real. And another thing I would tell anyone doubling into this business is, do not copy and paste this strategy that this business owner is applying. Why? Because I don't subscribe to the whole idea of just making sales without understanding what your profit margin looks like. As a business, you need to know what your cost of production is. And in this business, it is not necessarily production. It is you using money to buy money. So you're using money to buy money from the telecommunication network to have an electronic money, and you use that electronic money to sell to people so you can make profit off it. So make sure that that profit you're making off it has been seen, it is clear before you make any other investment. I like her strategy of topping up before you even run out. That I love, that is gold. But as you are doing that, make sure that it is still correlating. because the figures that is electronic, it is still numbers. You can still make the calculation with the cash that you have. So make sure that it is in correlation with the cash that you have, and that nothing is, leaking anywhere anyhow. And that way you can be able to manage the shortages that happens in a lot of businesses. So even though that a shortage could happen, you still are putting measures in place that would help you manage it all so you don't run at a loss. Everything good that's come to an end, unfortunately, and so has this video. But before I go, if you haven't yet, check out my interview with the bike riding Okada business so you can have a great insight. The big thing is we spoke English in this particular video, so you have clarity on what the business is all about. I'll see you on my next one. Stay safe.